Is this thing working? Are we live? It looks like we're live. What's happening, everybody? I hope everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. Had a little bit of an issue with the camera, so we are kind of going back to old school. Probably looks like we are filming this thing with a potato. Doing a bit of a short show tonight. In the process of working on quite a bit of stuff, but I wanted to hang out with you guys, see what is going on in your world, and talk a little bit about some of the upcoming bikes that I'm looking to do riding reviews on, and bring you guys some updates as far as what's going on with the GSXR 750, what's up with the rest of the fleet. So with that, if you are new to the show, thanks for stopping by. Typically, we'll do live shows on Tuesdays and Saturdays around 9 o'clock Central Standard Time in the United States of Americas. But with saying that, this channel is pretty much not much more than a background noise generator. And if I am not doing a live show, I am putting together typically ride reviews and things like that. So as long as the live feed holds us together, we will be hanging out. But again, I don't think this show is going to go much more than about 20, maybe 30 minutes. Gives me an opportunity to interact directly with you as well. So if you've got something to contribute, go ahead and hit it up, whatever direction it is on your computer, in the chat. Checking in first, Sam is in, Ryan is in. What is going on? Okay, so upcoming bikes that I'm looking forward to throwing a leg over and bringing to you guys. And the first one, I got to say, I'm going to click over here to, you'll see me kind of pop in and out also. This is going to be a bike that I'm kind of looking forward to. And there's one up at Stub Cycles that once it gets back from its recall, it will be how do I put this? It will be one of the first bikes that I want to try to do maybe a comparison with, but it's the Kawasaki ZX6. That 636 is an awesome setup. So, we'll see how that rolls out. But that bike I've been real intrigued by. I've never ridden one. I had a buddy of mine that had one, and when we would go toe to toe, that bike with gears, exhaust, and a tune versus my GSXR 750 with gears, exhaust, and a tune was a pretty solid matchup. So at any rate, hoping to bring that one to you here pretty soon. Ryan's asking thoughts on a big block Chevy 12-degree heart-shaped heads on a truck. The OK 2500 I got. I wouldn't have a clue. I don't know. I don't really do a whole lot with big block Chevys. So I would say if there are, you can do the same thing to the big blocks as you can do to any other engine. Sam say we need some twin carb V twins. See, here's the thing, Sam, I would agree with you, but the only problem is anytime I put up twin carb V twin-esque type content, man, it is not globally taken very well. In fact, I would be more inclined to do more of any kind of V-twin, American V-twin content. I would love to, but statistically speaking, it just does not do well, not even just in the States or not even globally, not talking about that at all. It just does not do well, even in the United States. Nobody is really watching it save for a small group of folks. So yeah, Sam, no, non-Harley Davidson V12. Yeah, again, it could be Indian, it could be anybody. So I don't know. We'll see. If I can get my hands on the Challenger, I would love to ride that one, but we'll just have to see as the availability kind of moves around. I'll be able to grab more bikes. Also, it's got to quit raining down here. Guys, it has been raining. Like, I've got to figure out a way to get a bike matchless V-twin. Find me one and I'll ride it. I've got to figure out a way to like dodge raindrops when I'm riding a motorcycle. This is getting nutty lately, guys. Oh, the Chally over at Stubbs. Is it even still over there? That one might have gotten sold. But if it hadn't, I do want to ride that bike. Weirdly enough, that one had it had a battery issue I think that bike maybe was sold, or maybe a couple of, I don't think anybody's actually finalized a contract on that bike. Anyway, cool bike though. And I got to say, from an ergonomic standpoint, that Challenger versus the Street Glide that I was lucky enough to throw a leg over and ride, I'll say this about the Challenger. I haven't ridden it yet, but just sitting on the bike, it is, to me anyway, more comfortable. But again, sitting on it and riding it are two completely different things. Here's what I will say, and take this as you will, but man, the one major beef that I have with Harley Davidson as a motorcycle is that stupid kickstand of theirs, man. Every time I throw a leg over a Harley Davidson, there is a chance that it's going to end up landing on me. And I am so gun shy of being around any Harley Davidson for that matter. You got to be real careful just with the way that kickstand folds out and kicks out. Just moving the handlebar, if that bike shifts just a little bit, thing falls right over. I don't know how guys get by with that. Anyway, let me check. Oh, Marco's asking, what do you think of the 5.7 coming back? I don't. I really don't. I could literally not care less, Marco. I don't care. That engine in that car is going to be, it's the weight of that car with that engine is going to deliver the same kind of performance that you would have in a Durango. And it doesn't do anything for me. I don't care if it's a 6.4. I don't care if it's a Hellcat in the new car. Make it all-wheel drive, and at least the car might be interesting. But the reality is that Dodge has got to do something different. It can't just be the old Hemi. It's not that good. Not by comparison, not anymore. That's not to say that I don't like it. I do. I still have Buffy. Buffy's got 225,000 miles on her. And I got to tell you, of the engines that are out there, that truck variant is, I mean, aside from some consumable parts like a water pump, maybe an alternator or a radiator, that's really not even attached to the engine. You get the idea. They're bomb-proof engines. But for a more modern palette, if you will, they got to do something. If they're going to put any 5.7 in that car, it's got to be variable intake runner at least. I don't know. The other issue with the Hemi is that, again, it's not underpowered. It's only underpowered when you shackle it with 4,500 pounds worth of car. Now, granted, my truck weighs 5,500 pounds, but it's a truck. You expect a different performance envelope for a car. So I don't know. Look, since 2017, we've been hearing that Dodge was going to give us a 4-cam V8, the successor to the Hemi. And guys, this is 8 years ago. The successor to the Hemi was already being talked about almost a decade ago. It's just weird. I swear it's like a Mandela effect. I remember talking about it. I remember hearing about it. It was the whole reason why we got the OG Challenger to begin with, the OG Challenger to begin with. It's one of those things that I just don't get it. What happened to the information on that? Why didn't we get the 4-cam Pentahead engine? Where did that go? They could have marketed it as a Hemi if they wanted to. There's no such thing as a Hemi 4-valve. It's called a Pentahead for a reason. It's because it's shaped like this. It's a part of a Pentastar. But the thing about it is that that absolutely died on the vine. The press just absolutely ran out of steam with that when the labor agreement in Brampton was re-upped. So I don't know. For whatever reason, we never got that engine, and we also never got the new platform that we were supposed to get in 2018 or 2019. And now, well, we are a long ways away from way back then. And the only thing that'll get me even right, my note, even remotely interested and get my mind right with Mopar right now is if they do something interesting with the engine family. And look, until I see that, it doesn't really do much for me. Oh, Ryan saying Stubbs still has the Chally. Yeah, I'll probably walk past that thing at least twice a week. Sovereign saying, how about the guy who dropped a Toyota 2J in the Hellcat? Yeah, it's pretty cool. You know, a lot of folks were saying, oh, you could get that. You could make the same kind of power with the Hurricane platform. No, you can't. You can't. The 2J is a cast iron high nickel block, closed deck, high nickel cast iron block. That 2J would function just fine as a diesel block. All right. This aluminum sleeved block that is making up what is the bulk of the architecture for the Hurricane engines. No, you'll be good to get that engine without a ton of work done to it to survive well at about 750 horsepower. Anything more than that, you're going to get too much block flex, and it's going to absolutely start to mangle main bearings. Hey, Sam, if you can find me a Morgan or a Vanderhall, then bring. I would love to ride one. Margaret's saying, you think 426 is coming? No. I mean, not unless, look, okay, yeah, let's pretend like it does for just a minute. Let's pretend like it does have a ghost of a chance of showing up. What 426 are we going to get? Is it going to be an all aluminum, naturally aspirated engine? That would actually make sense. Because putting a supercharger on the all aluminum 426 already didn't work out too well when they had the Helephant combination. You know, there wasn't just a few Helephants that, again, were eating themselves alive at 1,000 horsepower. So okay, but leave it naturally aspirated, make it 11-to-1 engine, give it direct and port injection. And I take it back, make it about a 12-to-1, just like the Coyote. But I think you get the idea. I mean, you can have that engine and it could work out really well. It's just you would have to get an executive order for the extra 30 odd cubic inches over the existing 392. Could they get it to pass? I'm sure there's ways to get it to pass, but I don't know what 426 we would get. And so on one hand, it sounds cool. Hey, the new 426, you know, the legend is back. And I mean, the marketing pretty much writes itself, doesn't it? But the reality is that I think a lot of people are just moving past it. And by the way, if you drop a 426 into the mix and it doesn't make more than 550 horsepower, you're kind of spinning your wheels, so to speak. No pun intended. Sovereign saying, guy, actually, yeah, he broke the diff on that one. Yeah, I mean, we put Scat Pack diffs in Hellcats all the time, the 309s. Sovereign, no, you cannot do that. So Sovereign's asking if you can use the same mold for an iron block to make an aluminum block. Absolutely not. The metallurgy simply will not allow for it. You have to have a lot more added webbing. You've got to have thicker deck walls. There's a lot about making an aluminum block that you've got to change. Aluminum is nowhere near as strong. It's much more malleable. And once you get it hot, it likes to flex a lot more. So tons of bracing, tons of webbing, all kinds of stuff you've got to do to that block to make it hold together. And here's the thing. You've got to make it hold together, not only under cylinder pressure, but also under RPM. So one advantage that aluminum has is that it is a bit, because it's not as hard, molecularly, it kind of does add a little bit of, you can get some better NVH qualities out of an aluminum block. In other words, you don't get resonance and things like that. But as far as actually making an engine, no, sir, you can absolutely not do that, unfortunately. So yeah, that's in that folks have tried to bring that argument to light. Like you've already got you've got the dies cast. The thing is they've got the machines to make aluminum blocks. They did it already. They had all aluminum 426s, and for the whatever the super stock class or whatever cars that they were making, I don't know what happened with that, and I really don't know if that engine was, honest to goodness, up to the task of being a race engine or dealing with race type of an environment. Yeah, it does need a total redesign for if it's going to be an aluminum. Stuart's asking, what's your ultimate build if it's a Mopar? Man, I tell you what, for me personally, if money is no object, I'd build a mid-century D100 pickup truck with, we're talking about it right now, with an all-aluminum 426, with a truck intake, and one of my cams, a small cam, and HP 90, and it would be a high compression pump gas combination, and that would be it. It would be a naturally aspirated setup that would spin to about 7,000 RPM. In fact, no, I'll take it back. It wouldn't even spin that high. It'd be about a 6,800 RPM motor. That to me would be the most enjoyable. And I would leave it at that. Now, that being said, if money really was no object, I would like to figure out how to bolt an HP 90 up to a 440 block and do a straight up max wedge build and drop that into a 68 Roadrunner. That would be pretty nasty. But I wouldn't mess with nothing. If I could get away with not having to deal with forced induction, I would, but the efficiency you just can't move away from. Turbofans are the way of the future. They've been the way of the future for a long time. And Mopar is asking, how much rear wheel horsepower can a stock 707 Hellcat handle reliably with proper tune and fueling? Well, it kind of depends. Okay, we have to start defining terms here. Reliability needs to come into play. With a good solid tune like the tune that I had on Revlon, and a good fuel pump, stock is what I would recommend, because I can't control fuel quality. If you're talking about a Mustang dyno, and you want to stay away from E85, then I would say somewhere around 780, 750, 780, somewhere in that range. In other words, not much more than what you've already got, which is about 600 with a stock car. My car made 666 to the rear tires. I don't try to get greedy with these things, because what invariably happens is you get a bad tank of gas and things go south real quick. And the thing is if the tune doesn't pick up on it, then you do get excessive knock. And this is one thing that, as a tuner of Mopars, there's a kind of a thin line that you're walking between, is it real knock or is it false knock? And there's a lot of false knock with Hemis. So to get that combination just right, you're going to be giving up power for sure. But I never went after power when I was setting national records. I just had a really solid tune, and it just so happened to work out that it worked out well. But man, if you are chasing every last horsepower, then you are just, especially with a boosted combination, and a boosted combination that's got more boost than, say, I don't know, 13, 14 PSI on a stock Hellcat motor, now you've got downstream heat you got to deal with. You've got fuel pumps you got to deal with. There's a lot of goofy stuff that comes into play. And then altitude, do you have enough injector? See what I mean? It can get a little bit convoluted. So what I would typically tell guys is, look, go with a 3.0 upper pulley. Your stock pump and your stock injectors can manage that on 93 octane. It'll be as happy as it could possibly be. You'll pick up a little bit of power pretty much everywhere, but again, don't get greedy. It's an easy tune to put together, and it's safe. Basically, what you're doing is you're DA correcting the thing. You're basically giving your Hellcat the same kind of manifold pressure as you would see in like negative 2,000 density altitude. And that's, like I say, that's about as running car as you're ever gonna want, frankly. Super saying 68 Roadrunner is boss. Amopar saying, what about the Hellcat Tranny HP 90? What's the difference between 15, 16 versus 18 plus? I heard they beef them up internally. They might have different clutches, but everything else is pretty much a crossover. And we never saw anything act any differently on the cars, whether it was dyno, track, or anything else. There were, in the tune, there were some things that were going on a little bit differently, but it was just added stuff that we were able to get through HP tuners. There's nothing, I'll put it to you like this. There's nothing that separated the Demon from my car. So my car was an early model 2015, and the Demon, obviously 2018 car. I think that one was built in September. No, that car was not built in September. That car was built in December, if I remember correctly. I had to sit there and think about it. Once you get near 900 wheel horsepower, then do it. I mean, listen, most of the stuff that we were working with, all of them were, I mean, we had stock HP 90s that were not having any, well, it depends on how you're measuring it. 900 wheel horsepower on a dyno jet, that's like 800 on a Mustang dyno, and every HP 90 it's like they don't even realize they're being worked at that RP or at that horsepower and torque level. So 900 wheel horsepower maybe on a Mustang dyno. We just never had any slip. HP 90 is a hell of a transmission. So I don't know. I don't know about that one. But once you start getting into, I would say once you start seeing realistically like around 1,000 horsepower on a dyno jet, you might want to look into it. 666, yeah, bad omen. Nah, it's a good omen. This car's a sweetheart. Sam, I don't know what any of that means, but it sounds expensive. Him saying he had shoulder surgery. Man, I'll tell you what, that sucks. So 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. 9 is a power number. It made good power. Oh, the 68 B body. Yeah, the Coronets. Those things are, yeah. Those things are crazy. Sam, it is hard to dyno a diesel. What was the name of the company that we were working with? God, I can't remember the guy's name. Anyway, we were doing a lot of dyno testing for a guy that was doing piggyback testing for a lot of diesels. Sharp Sticks is in saying, happy Saturday, B. Just parked the GSXR 750. Loving this thing. Way too much fun. Absolutely. Cheers to you. Got the ball guy with the flex and the specs. I like it. Yeah, I am still waiting to get mine back. I found a video. God, man, that video was right after I had the tire put on after the flat. And I never did post. I don't know why I never posted that video up. I thought I did. Realized that I hadn't. And so I wanted to get that one out there. Getting that S22 tire scrubbed in. Ryan's asking, who would I say is a big block Chevy professor? Would have been my dad, honestly. He was big into big block Chevrolets. A lot of camshaft stuff. Big into 8th Mile grudge racing at one point. Skid saying, dang commercial. Yeah, YouTube is doing that now. They're sneaking them in everywhere now. Here was the funny thing about commercials. I get commercials on my own videos when I go to watch them. For anytime I'm like, if I watch one of mine, it's rare, but I'll watch them sometimes right after I post them up, but they're not public yet. I'll watch it to make sure everything's working right with it. And I'll have to watch a commercial. It's kind of funny. Marco's saying, you like the 6.4 Power Wagon. If it's a great engine, but they need to make more power out of that thing. The 6.4 for the trucks needs to be making, I know they have to detune it for the weight and towing, but it's got to be making at least 450 horsepower. At this stage of the game, you have to. Look at the kind of power that the 6.2 is making. And by the way, look at the kind of power that the Coyote is making. Realistically, the Coyote on 93 octane with the stock tune, yeah, that's not a 400 horsepower engine, guys. It's more like 440, 450 in that truck. And if you don't believe me, I've got plenty of videos of my truck, which isn't anything special, with no weight reduction, running mid to low 13s. So, and that's on 93 octane. So Dodge has got to do something with the trucks, and they've got to do it. If they're going to do it naturally aspirated, they've got to do something for the trucks to have them make more power. Otherwise, it's just kind of a waste. Hey, Mopar. So Boostain is great, but I only recommend it if you are concerned about the fuel quality itself. Never, ever, ever, never, ever, ever, never, ever tune with a fuel additive. Ever, never, ever. Don't do it. Bad. Don't do it. Let me explain to you why. Whenever I would have a car on the dyno and I would be doing a load test, for example, or I'm running the thing and I'm looking for knock retard or whatever the case might be. If that car had, and let's say I'm just doing power sweeps and I'm adding timing until the car doesn't respond anymore, some cars will keep responding. Typically, they don't really care about what octane is in them. I'm thinking mainly about the naturally aspirated cars. Hellcats can be a little bit different story, though, and they will keep making power as long as you don't run into knock issues. And I'm not even looking at knock sensors. I'm just looking at how the car responds to specific octane. But the thing is that you can't just keep throwing timing at it. There is a spot, even with Hellcats, depending on what pulley ratio you're running, where they will kind of flatten out. But when you start throwing more boost at them, you're only removing timing to keep you out of knock, right? So let's say you have a tank and you put Boostain in it. The stuff works and it works really well. But if you tune it and it still has even residual Boostain can give you a point, and a point in some cases can make a big difference if you've got like a 3.0 or a 3.25 pulley on the car. I'm sorry, 3.0 or a 2.95 pulley on the car, and you're not running the stock 3 1/4. So you start to look at it and you're going, damn. Okay, so I know that this car is making good power, but if it starts to, if it is going to run into an issue, it's going to run into an issue on the next tank of gas or the next tank of gas after that. Or let's say everything's going great, the gas quality is really good, and then you get a crappy tank of gas, which, by the way, happens way more often than you can possibly imagine. Getting away from tier 1 fuel, if you're in Texas and you go to Buc-ee's, because I used to log fuel quality, and I could see that the car was getting a lot more short-term knock retard on Buc-ee's 93 than it was on Exxon, for example, or Shell. So these are some of the things that you've got to take into account when you start messing around with fuel additives. The only time I would suggest messing with a fuel additive is, again, if you have questionable fuel quality, or more importantly, if you live at a lower altitude and you're out beating on the car and it's cold outside. In that case, yeah, throw about 2 or 3 ounces worth of butane in your tank just to add as a safeguard for octane. But again, it's only there as medicine, right? It's not there recreationally, if you will. Let's see. Ryan, where are you at? Hold on. Wait a minute. The last thing I have from you is the commercial. Tim's in. What's up, Tim? Saying questions, why S22 and not 23? I got a hell of a good deal on the 22. Not to mention the S22 on the GSXR 750. It's not going to be asked to do as much in terms of dealing with horsepower. And because I was able to get a really good deal on it, it was just going to end up being better for me to throw a 22 on that bike. And I've got experience with the 22 and it does really well. So I haven't run into any issues with that tire. I really do like the 23. The 23 is doing amazingly well on the 1000. And you guys have seen how that bike is able to manage power as I'm dragging that thing back up going through corners. And it's really good. But again, I just got a hell of a good deal on the 22. I've got a lot of history with the 22 on a couple of different bikes, the Katana, the Z900. And so because of that, I've done some pretty hairy stuff on 22s and they did just fine. Ryan's wanting, something torquey. Like the easiest way to get around the big block stuff is just to get, a top of the food chain stage 1 camshaft for it and just go from there for a pickup truck. I really wouldn't go much more aggressive than that. Sharp's asking, hey, what tire pressure you run front and back on your stock tires, GSXR 750, and you're 200 pounds, so we're the same weight. So for the BT 016s, I was running 35, give or take, like 35 and a half. It'd be 35 plus. So as long as the first 2 numbers were 35 PSI, I don't really get in the weeds with the front or the rear tire on the street. The rear is almost always 37, like 37. I think I'll pull it at 37.3 or 37.5. And what that does is it allows the bike to be real manageable and it gives me a bit more feel when the bike's on the side of the tire. And I just prefer the feel of those pressures on the street. Now, if we're talking about track, you're going to be at about 31 or 32 for the front cold and probably 28 for the rear. And then after you do your warm-up laps, they're going to come up to the rear will be about 34 and the front will bump up to about 33, around 33 is where it'll wind up. But that's what I like to do. Now, I will say this, the 750 does not seem to be as affected by tire pressure as much as the 1000's got stiffer suspension, and it can be a bit jarring if I run much higher pressure than 37, really, out back for the 1000. I was playing around. In fact, I've got a video that I need to post. I've never posted. It's literally the day I was riding the 750 home when I was breaking in the BT016s, and they were at 42.36. And I mean, I was right out of the gate hammering on those. So they're actually really good tires. It's just that you can't buy them. They are original equipment only. And the actual and the other thing, Tim, the stock replacement for the BT016 is now the Bridgestone S22. So did it come back? Did that work? I don't even know if that worked. Let me know, those of you that may still be on. Did we regain cabin pressure? There's just no telling why this live show does this, but that's live for you folks. Anyway, showing that we have an excellent connection on my end, but unfortunately it may be frozen on yours. If anybody's still out there, let me know if this thing is still working. Shoot me something in the chat. If it's frozen, you won't be able to send me anything because you won't hear anything that I'm saying. But if you can, please be so kind. Lime's in. Okay, so it looks like we are back up and running. So that's a good thing. No telling why it does that, but it does do that from time to time. So there you go. But getting back to it, yeah, one of the questions was, a lot of the questions have been from A Mopar basing around the Hellcat. What can you realistically get away with Hellcats? And guys, I've been saying this for a long time, man. The thing with Mopars is you cannot get greedy. If you do, you do so at the freaking peril of your pocketbook. It's one of those strange things where, and I'll always feel this way about the Mopar stuff. It's so good. There are so many things that are just so about how Mopars get down the road, how they drive. God, there's just so many things about those cars that are so good, and the trucks. But they're heavy, and weight is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something that you just have to know it exists. You have to understand the DNA that vehicle was created from. I mean, it was an E-Class Mercedes-Benz. It's a big luxury sedan. Okay, you're not dealing with a sports car. You're dealing with a big luxury sedan that was never designed to be a two-door, by the way. So let's say we're talking about the Charger. The thing is that the weight creates load, and the load is, in essence, the way you think about it, load is dwell time, which is to say load is timing. So you're already kind of behind the eight ball with these things. And again, you can't, there is no accounting for fuel quality, and there's no fuel additive in the world that is going to save you from poor decisions, like putting a pulley on the car without a tune. Remember that was a thing for a while? There were some just absolutely nutty things that guys were doing with these cars. There was one of them with the 275 upper pulley, and it was who the hell made it? Anyway, it was one of those things where they were saying, you don't have to have a tune for this car. With our pulley, we know you don't have to, the Ripa pulley or whatever it was. And I was going, you don't have to have a tune. Where we live, you would. If you lived way up in altitude, maybe not, right? So that's why there's so many different, like it's so nuanced. And everybody wanted a real quick, right off the cuff. Oh yeah, you can put a 285 pulley on that car, and you can do that and whatever. But that wasn't the case. And guys, at the track, I looked at a guy's data log. He happened to be data logging, and this happened on several different occasions. But the one that I'm thinking about is a white Charger. And this guy had one of those 275 upper pulleys, and a Orange Crush just mopped the floor with this guy. And he's a stock boost car. And the interesting thing about it was the guy, he recognized me. He said, hey, can you look at my data log? And his knock sensors were absolutely losing their mind. And this car was going to be a statistic. I'm telling you right now. And I told him, I said, you are done for the night. And the guy goes, well, they say you don't have to have a tune. And this is in Houston, Texas, 50-degree weather. We're talking DA of like, I don't know, 0, maybe negative 100, like good air, but not crazy good, kind of humid night. This guy was going to blow his car up. And this is, again, somebody believing what they were told from somebody that really doesn't know what they're talking about. Not in the broad sense. Narrowly, yes. Broadly, absolutely not. So what I try to do, and the way that I was giving advice for the Mopar stuff was that I wanted people to have fun with their cars. I just did not want to see them become another statistic out there, blowing their stuff up when, we were out setting records even with Demon, the stock boost 93 octane stuff. You get into some more real drilled down micro crap that I don't really even count, but we had some pretty legit records that we were setting, and it all was based around, getting the most out of the stock components that you possibly could. So how are we looking right now, guys? Is the feed coming over still? I'm not getting any kind of weird stuff. So let me know if this feed is working, or am I just sitting here like a crazy person talking to myself, which I happen to do a lot. So hopefully that answers some questions with that. I feel like I might want to do every once in a while, maybe do a Mopar chat where I'm talking specifically to the Hellcat platform. Cause there's a ton of, and it gets worse, bad information out there when it comes to those cars. I'm saying the lighting's a little bit flaky. That's par for the course on this deal. It's just kind of a weird connection tonight. But, and when it comes to the 6.4 stuff, man, guys, look, y'all know where I'm at with that. The 6.4 for me is, that's kind of my baby in a way. It's just that it's so limited in what you can get away with that stock intake manifold. And I really, you're asking about what would my dream build be? A truck that I would like to have just to build would be a regular cab short bed with a 392 and a small cam, long tube headers, truck intake, and a set of 392 gears. And that's it. I mean, I wouldn't go too nutty with it. That'd be a fun truck. But I don't know. I digress. There's a lot of fun things you can do with these cars. Again, the divisive problem that you have is always going to be the weight. That's always going to be the controversial part of a Mopar is the weight. It is what it is. And it's just until Dodge were to make a car that was lighter, not heavier like they did, we're going to be stuck with that kind of a scenario. So let's see. I think I got to everybody. Man, this one was this live show has been glitchy. But with that, guys, I am going to go ahead and wrap it up. It looks like this live feed, if this flakes out again, it's pretty much going to kill it anyway. But with that, guys, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate everybody's patience with this. Every once in a while, more often than not, it seems like of late, we do get some flakiness going on with the feed. It's just one of those things. Not much we can do about it, but at any rate, it is what it is. Guys, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Y'all take care.